Ladies, let me talk to you real quick, heart to heart, because one thing I know for sure is this: a woman's silence is one of the most misunderstood, underestimated, and misjudged powers she has. Everybody thinks silence means you're weak, or you're confused, or you don't know what to say. Nah, when a grown woman goes quiet, that's strategy, that's clarity, that's self-respect talking without making a sound. See, a lot of you were raised to believe you got to explain everything. Explain your feelings, explain your worth, explain why you're upset, explain why you deserve better. But here's the truth. Every time you over-explain yourself to a man who ain't even earned the right to understand you, you lower your value without even realizing it. Silence is not about ignoring him. It's not about manipulation. It's about alignment. It's about choosing peace over chaos, dignity over desperation, and standards over struggle. Silence is how you protect your heart, your energy, and your self-worth without arguing, begging, or proving anything. The right man will understand your silence. The wrong man will be threatened by it. And that's exactly why these 6 silence rules matter. Because when you learn when to be silent, how to be silent, and why silence works, you stop chasing love and start attracting real commitment. You stop training men to treat you casually and start inspiring them to show up with intention. You stop reacting and start leading from feminine power. This isn't about playing games. This is about emotional elegance. This is about self-control. This is about knowing you're the prize and moving like it. So sit back, take a breath, and let's talk about the 6 silence rules that will make a man think, miss you, value you, and chase you like crazy. Rule number 1, silence after disrespect. That's your power switch. Ladies, let me break something down to you with the kind of honesty only Steve Harvey would give you. The moment a man disrespects you, your silence becomes the loudest, strongest, most unforgettable response you could ever give. Not yelling, not cursing, not paragraphs of explanations, not tears, not let me tell you how you made me feel. None of that hits the way silence hits. Silence after disrespect is not weakness. It is not fear. It is control. It is you flipping the power switch back into your hands. Because the minute he crosses that line, whether through words, tone, inconsistency, attitude, comparison, or disrespecting your worth, he expects something from you. He expects a reaction. He expects emotion. Men anticipate the storm. They prepare for the argument. They prepare for the debate. They prepare for excuses and explanations. But what they're not prepared for is nothing. Absolute, calm, unbothered, self-respecting nothing. See, your silence forces a man to sit in the mess he created. It makes him hear his own words. It makes him replay the moment he slipped up. It makes him look at himself without the distraction of your reaction. When you argue, he focuses on your reaction. When you go silent, he has no choice but to focus on his actions. And ladies, that alone is a power move. A man can dismiss a woman's anger. He can ignore her tears. He can deflect when she explains. He can twist her words in an argument. But silence, he can't dodge silence. Silence sits with him long after you've walked away. It haunts him. It follows him. It interrupts his peace. He could be laughing with his boys, but somewhere in the back of his mind, he's wondering, why isn't she reacting? Why did she go quiet? Did I push too far? Is she done with me? Does she not need me? Ladies, that inner panic is the beginning of accountability. When a man disrespects a woman, he's subconsciously checking her boundaries. He wants to see how far he can go, how much you'll tolerate, how deeply you'll bend yourself to keep him. But when you respond with silence, you're sending one clear message. I don't negotiate my value. You're telling him you're not afraid to detach. You're not afraid to remove access. You're not afraid to step back and protect your peace. And that shakes a man more than any words ever could. Silence is a mirror. When you stop talking, he sees himself without your explanation, softening the truth. And trust me, Men don't like what they see when they've messed up. That's why silence after disrespect often makes a man come back with clarity, humility, and effort. Not because you manipulated him, but because silence made him confront his own behavior. And guess what? Your silence also teaches him how to treat you. Words mean nothing if a man knows he can disrespect you and still have access to your time, your energy, your emotion. But when silence enters the room, he realizes this woman will walk away from anything that disturbs her peace. She's not clinging to me. She's not scared to lose me. I'm scared of losing her. And that is the moment the power shifts. Ladies, your silence also protects your dignity. Because when you react in anger, you end up saying things you don't mean. You give him more power. You give him more confidence. You give him an opportunity to flip the script. But silence is grace. Silence is maturity. Silence is emotional intelligence. Silence is you saying, I don't have time to match your energy. You can argue with yourself. Your silence is also therapy. It gives you a moment to breathe, think, process, and decide what you truly want without the pressure of defending yourself in the heat of the moment. It allows your mind to clear. It lets you choose your next move with strength instead of emotion. And let's be real, silence after disrespect removes the audience. It stops the show. It takes the fuel out of the fire. A man arguing with a silent woman looks and feels foolish. He can't continue. He can't escalate. He can't dominate. He's forced to step back and rethink. When you go silent, you don't lose anything. You gain clarity. You gain control. You gain self-respect. And he gains the understanding that your love is not unconditional at the cost of your dignity. Silence says, I'm not begging for what should be natural. I'm not arguing to be valued. I heard what you did, and now you're going to sit with it. It is your pause. It is your boundary. It is your power switch. And when a woman learns to use silence after disrespect, she never forgets how powerful she truly is. Rule number 2, silence when he pulls away. Let him miss Uber, ladies. Listen closely, because this right here is where so many women lose their power without even realizing it. When a man starts pulling away, when he gets distant, quiet, distracted, or suddenly busy, most women panic. They start asking questions, overthinking, checking on him, sending long messages, trying to fix what they didn't break. But let me tell you something that'll save you years of heartbreak. When a man pulls away, your silence is the only thing that makes him come back with intention. See, men pull away for all kinds of reasons: stress, confusion, fear of emotions, pressure, life problems, or sometimes just their natural instinct to retreat and reset. Men are like rubber bands. They stretch away to return stronger. But when you chase after him the moment he stretches, you interrupt that process. You snap the band before it has a chance to bounce back. That's why so many connections fail. Not because he lost interest, but because he didn't get the space to realize he actually misses you. Your silence in this moment is not punishment. It's not revenge. It's not manipulation. It's emotional strength. It's you saying, I'm not going to force what should be natural. I'm not going to beg for time that should be offered freely. Silence gives him the mental room to recognize your value on his own. Because let me tell you something about men. They don't think about what's constantly present. They think about what suddenly disappears. When you get quiet, calm, and focused on yourself, a man starts to feel the shift. He notices the peace where your presence used to be. Your absence becomes a weight. He starts asking himself, why isn't she calling? Why didn't she double text? Is she mad? Did she move on? Did I mess up? That discomfort he feels, that's awareness. That's longing. That's the beginning of missing you. And here's the thing. When he pulls away and you respond with silence, you give him something powerful, the gift of realization. He begins to understand what you were giving him, your effort, your attention, your consistency, your softness, your presence. A man can only appreciate what he had once he feels what it's like without it. Silence makes him taste that emptiness. But when you chase, you rob him of that experience. You make it too easy. He never feels the loss. Without that feeling, he has no reason to return differently because you made your presence unconditional. Your silence also communicates confidence. When you don't chase, a man reads it as, she's secure. She's not dependent on me. She has a life. She's choosing me, not needing me. And men are drawn to women who don't crumble just because they take a step back. Your silence tells him that he is an addition to your life, not the center of it. And trust me, that's attractive. That's rare. That's magnetic. Another powerful thing silence does, it protects your dignity. When a man pulls away, chasing him can make you feel small. It makes you act out of fear. It makes you accept crumbs. It makes you bargain emotionally. But silence keeps your self-respect intact. Silence says, I'm not going to lower my standards because you're confused. Silence says, if you want me, you'll step up. Silence says, I'll match your energy, not your insecurities. Your silence also gives you clarity. It gives you the space to feel your own emotions without reacting impulsively. It allows you to see the reality of his behavior. When you go quiet, you stop romanticizing him and start observing him. Does he reach out? Does he make effort? Does he return when he's ready, or does he stay gone? Silence reveals a truth that noise would have buried. But let's be honest. Silence is attractive. It creates mystery. It creates curiosity. When a man doesn't know what you're thinking, where your mind is, what you're doing, or how you feel, he starts thinking about you more. That's just how they're wired. Men chase clarity, they chase certainty, they chase access. But silence temporarily takes that away, and that makes him want to earn it back. When he pulls away, what he expects is your reaction. What he doesn't expect is your peace. That's what shocks him. That's what wakes him up. That's what makes him realize he could lose a woman who handles herself with grace instead of panic. Your silence is not you disappearing forever. It's you stepping back long enough for him to step forward willingly. And if he doesn't, then silence becomes revelation. It shows you exactly who he is and what he's prepared to give. A man who cares always comes back stronger. A man who doesn't, your silence helped you dodge years of misplaced loyalty. Silence when he pulls away is not about winning. It's about aligning. It's about letting him meet you at your level. It's about giving him the opportunity to choose you with clarity instead of convenience. And that, ladies, is how you let him miss you deeply, genuinely, naturally, without ever having to say a single word. Rule number 3, silence and mystery. Don't explain yourself to a man who isn't your husband. Ladies, let me tell you something, Steve. Harvey style, real and unfiltered. You do not owe every man an explanation. Not where you're going, not what you're doing, not how you feel every second, not why you didn't reply fast enough, not why you were busy, not why you didn't pick up the phone. A man who has not earned the right to your transparency is not entitled to your every detail. And the moment you understand this, you step into a whole new level of power, because mystery is not manipulation. Mystery is value. Mystery is self-respect. Mystery is the quiet language of a woman who knows her worth. Men are wired to chase what feels rare, what feels different, what feels slightly out of reach. And mystery, the right kind of mystery, creates that. It's not about playing games. It's about not giving unlimited access to someone who hasn't proven he deserves that level of closeness. So many women fall into the trap of over-explaining because they want to appear honest, loyal, trustworthy, or committed. But what ends up happening is you become predictable. You become easy to read. You become an open book before the man has even decided if he deserves a library card. Let me break something down. When you reveal every thought, every move, every detail too early, you take away the excitement of getting to know you. You remove the natural curiosity that makes a man lean in. You tell him everything before he earns the right to hear anything. Silence. Strategic silence keeps your essence intact. It tells him, if you want to know me, you've got to show up for real. You've got to invest. You've got to commit. You've got to stay consistent. Mystery doesn't mean being sneaky. It doesn't mean hiding things to hurt him. It means you are selective, not secretive. You are intentional, not unavailable. You are private, not distant. Every high-value woman in this world understands this. Your privacy is your protection. Not every man deserves access to the personal corners of your life simply because he's interested when you stay silent about things that are not his business, yet you create an unspoken boundary. I am not yours to question until you have become mine to trust. That's the difference. When you don't explain every little thing, a man starts paying closer attention. He listens more. He watches more. He studies you. He becomes curious. He wonders what your life is like. He wonders how you think. He wonders what your dreams are. That curiosity becomes emotional investment. An emotional investment is what makes a man fall. The moment you become predictable, a man gets comfortable. And comfort kills effort. But mystery keeps him showing up. It keeps him wanting more. It keeps him trying. Men chase mystery not because they love trouble, but because mystery forces them to engage, to participate, to earn. Think about it. The most powerful women in the world don't talk too much. They don't overshare. They don't give updates. They don't justify themselves. They move with quiet confidence. They allow people to discover who they are, layer by layer, moment by moment, action by action. And that creates magnetism. It creates allure. It creates charm. It makes a man feel like he's uncovering something special, not something desperate to be known. Explaining yourself too much also creates pressure. It makes you look like you're seeking approval. A man starts feeling like you need reassurance for everything. But the woman who stands tall, calm, and quiet in her own choices sends a different message. I don't need permission to be me. I don't need validation to make decisions. I don't need approval to exist. And that, ladies, is what makes a man respect you deeply. Silence in mystery also protects you from being misinterpreted. When you talk too much, you leave room for your words to be twisted. But silence is whole. Silence is clean. Silence can't be argued with. It can't be criticized. It can't be turned against you. A man will never forget a woman who made him work to earn her truth. A woman who didn't reveal her entire life in the first 2 weeks. A woman who kept some things sacred. A woman who didn't move like she was auditioning for the role of his girlfriend. Because the truth is, a woman who gives too much too soon makes him feel like she doesn't value herself. But a woman who holds her silence carries an aura, a calm, quiet mystery that tells him, I belong to myself first. And that is irresistible. So don't explain where you're going. Don't justify why you didn't respond instantly. Don't narrate every detail of your personal world. That level of access belongs to a man who has proven consistency, effort, commitment, and emotional investment. A man who has earned the title of husband or something close to it. Silence and mystery doesn't push men away. It draws the right ones closer and keeps the wrong ones out. Rule number 4. Silence during his ego moments. Don't compete. Let him reveal himself. Ladies, if there is one thing you must understand about men, it's this. A man's ego is a whole different creature. It has moods, phases, triggers, and moments when it tries to run the entire show. And these ego moments don't always come from arrogance. Sometimes they come from insecurity, stress, pride, or fear. But no matter where they come from, your response determines everything. Because when a man steps into his ego, the most powerful thing you can do is stay silent, stay calm, and let him reveal exactly who he is without you lifting a finger. See, during an ego moment, a man often starts talking big. He starts acting like he knows everything, like he's unfazed, like he doesn't need help, like he's stronger than he actually feels. He may brag, he may boast, he may show off, he may get defensive, he may try to prove himself, or he may suddenly get cold and distant. These are not reflections of who he truly is. They're reflections of who he thinks he needs to be in that moment. But here's the key. If you meet his ego with your ego, you get conflict. If you meet his ego with explanations, you get arguments. If you challenge him directly, you trigger him more. If you try to outtalk him, he shuts down. But when you stay silent, when you let him talk without reacting, when you don't try to fix, argue, prove, or compete, you create the space for him to drop the act. Because ego feeds on reaction. It feeds on attention. It feeds on resistance. If you push back, the ego pushes harder. But if you stay still, the ego eventually collapses under its own weight. Silence disarms him. Silence removes the stage. Silence takes away the spotlight his ego is craving. Your silence in these moments is not passive. It is not weak. It is strategic. It tells him, I see what you're doing, but I'm not engaging in it. You're not rewarding his need to feel superior, nor are you shrinking yourself to make him comfortable. You're simply letting the moment pass without letting it turn into something unhealthy. And trust me, your silence teaches him more than your words ever will. When a man is in an ego moment, he's not listening. He's not thinking clearly. He's not receiving love, logic, or reason. He's running on pride. Your silence gives him time to slow down, to hear himself, to notice the shift in energy, and to realize that his behavior is unnecessary. Silence is the mirror that shows him what he's doing without you having to point it out. A man actually respects a woman who doesn't argue during his ego moments. Why? Because she feels safe. She feels steady. She doesn't escalate. She doesn't crumble. She doesn't try to dominate him, correct him, or challenge him when he's not himself. She stands firm in her femininity, calm in her spirit, and confident in her presence. Your silence also reveals his character. When you're not challenging him, he has no one to blame, no one to fight, no one to perform for. So what does he do when the spotlight fades? Does he calm down? Does he apologize? Does he self-reflect? Does he soften? Or does he continue to act like the world owes him something? Silence shows you who he is, not the polished version, not the charming version, not the sweet-talking version, the core of him. There is a reason wise women stay quiet when a man is puffing up his chest. They know that a man who needs to prove he's strong is not actually strong in that moment. They know that when a man feels threatened, he hides behind his ego. And they know that silence allows the truth to rise to the surface. Because eventually every man comes down from his ego high. And when he does, he will look around and ask himself, did I hurt her? Did I embarrass myself? Did I cross a line? That moment of clarity is where growth begins. Your silence can be the difference between a pointless argument and a meaningful breakthrough. It also protects your peace. Ego moments can drain your energy. You cannot coach a man out of pride. You cannot force humility into him. But your silence keeps you centered. It stops you from entering battles that are not worth fighting. It saves you from saying things you don't mean or from reacting emotionally to his temporary attitude. Silence in his ego moment is not the same as silence in pain. It's simply emotional intelligence. It's knowing that the storm will pass and that you don't need to stand in the rain trying to fix it. It's letting him finish his performance while you stand in your grace. Whether he comes back and humbles himself or whether he stays stuck in that ego, silence will tell you everything you need to know. Because a real man, after an ego moment, will circle back. He'll soften. He'll apologize. He'll reconnect. But a man whose ego controls him will stay defensive, stay cold, or stay distant. Your silence reveals the truth. Your silence keeps the peace. Your silence brings clarity. And your silence protects your power. Rule number 5, silence while you level up. Nothing makes a man chase like your growth. Ladies, let me put this to you in a way Steve Harvey would say it on that big stage, mic in hand, smiling like he already knows the truth you're about to realize. There is nothing and I mean nothing, that makes a man pay attention, chase harder, stay consistent, or correct himself faster than watching a woman level up in complete silence. Not talking about it, not announcing it, not bragging about it, not asking him to notice, just doing it quietly, gracefully, consistently, until the results are so obvious he has no choice but to sit back and say, damn, she's glowing. See, effort makes noise, but elevation is silent. Growth doesn't need a microphone. When you move in silence, you change the energy without telling anybody you're changing. That's what stops a man in his tracks. Because men expect women to talk about their plans, their goals, their dreams, their moves. But a woman who just does and doesn't say, a woman who disappears into her purpose instead of disappearing into her feelings, that woman becomes unforgettable. Silence while you level up is powerful because it creates distance, not emotional distance, but energetic distance. You begin to operate in a higher space. You stop repeating yourself. You stop begging for effort. You stop performing for attention. You get busy with yourself, your growth, your confidence, your healing, your money, your peace, your fitness, your projects. That shift is magnetic. Men can sense when your focus has changed. They feel it. They notice it even if they don't say it. A man might ignore your words, but he will never ignore your evolution. When you're leveling up silently, you become a mystery again. He starts wondering, what changed? Why is she glowing like that? Where is she going? Why does she look so confident? Who is she becoming? That curiosity becomes motivation. Suddenly, he feels the need to show up, to ask questions, to pay attention, to match the energy. Because your growth, without you ever mentioning it, makes him question his own stagnation. Silence while you level up doesn't mean you're shutting him out. It means you're prioritizing yourself. It means you're no longer waiting for someone to choose you, validate you, or recognize you. It means you're no longer playing small to make him feel big. It means you've stepped into a season where your actions speak for you, where you let your results introduce you, where you let your glow up speak louder than your disappointment ever could. The beauty of leveling up silently is that it shifts the dynamic without confrontation. You don't have to say, you're not giving enough. You're pulling away. You don't appreciate me. You're inconsistent. Your growth says it for you. Because a man who was playing with your time starts realizing he's now losing your attention. A man who took you for granted starts realizing other people won't. A man who counted on your insecurity starts realizing your confidence is rising. A man who believed you'd never leave starts noticing you no longer need him emotionally the same way. Your silence also protects your dreams. When you talk too much about your plans, you invite opinions, judgment, and distraction. But when you work quietly, nobody can interfere. Nobody can discourage you. Nobody can slow you down. You give your goals a private space to grow where doubt can't reach them. And let's keep it real. Leveling up in silence removes all pressure. You don't have to prove anything. You don't have to justify anything. You don't have to seek approval. You just become better at being you. And the right men, the quality men, the emotionally mature men, they respect that. They admire that. They chase that. Men chase women whose growth inspires them, not women who demand attention without evolving. Growth is attractive because it signals self-worth. It signals discipline. It signals independence. And the moment a man senses that you're no longer revolving around him, that your world is expanding beyond the limits of the relationship, he becomes motivated to step up or step aside. Silent leveling up also teaches you something too. It reminds you that the relationship you have with yourself determines every relationship around you. When you work on your health, you glow differently. When you work on your finances, you move differently. When you work on your confidence, you speak differently. When you work on your healing, you love differently. And when you work on your purpose, girl, you walk into every room like you were born to be there. And here's the truth. When a woman levels up silently, the world notices. When a woman levels up silently, opportunities show up. When a woman levels up silently, the wrong men fade. When a woman levels up silently, the right man gets inspired or gets out of the way, because nothing makes a man chase harder than seeing you grow into the version of yourself he never believed you'd have the courage to become. Silence isn't just golden, it's transformational, it's powerful, it's magnetic. And when you combine silence with growth, you don't just level up, you rise out of reach. Rule number 6, silence when you're the prize. Let him do the talking, proving, earning. Ladies, let me tell you something real simple, real clear, and real grown woman. Silence hits different when it's coming from a woman who knows she's the prize. Not thinks, not hopes, not guesses, knows. When you move like a woman who understands her worth, your silence becomes a throne. And any man who wants you has to step up to that throne with effort, consistency, and proof. See, most women talk their value away. You explain too much. You justify too much. You keep showing him why you're good, why you're loyal, why you're worth it. But here's the thing. Queens don't explain themselves. Diamonds don't describe their sparkle. A masterpiece don't hand out a brochure about why it's priceless. It just sits there and the world adjusts itself around it. Silence is powerful when it comes from a woman who already knows who she is. When you quiet down, a man has no choice but to reveal who he is. Your silence opens the door for him to do the talking, the proving, the chasing, and the earning, because what he can't hear, he starts trying to figure out. What he can't predict, he starts trying to understand. And what he can't control, he starts trying to win. When you're the prize, silence isn't distance. It's dignity. It's you saying, I'm not auditioning. You either want me or you don't, but I'm not going to clap for you to choose me. It's you stepping back into your divine seat and letting the energy shift, because a man can feel when a woman places herself back on her own pedestal. He feels that change. He feels the respect you give yourself, and that energy becomes magnetic. A high-value woman doesn't chase reassurance. She doesn't rush to fill the space when a man hesitates. She doesn't get nervous when there's a pause. She sits in her silence like it's velvet. She sits in her worth like it's gold. She lets the quiet say everything she doesn't need to. A man will do one of two things when you're silent and self-assured. He'll step up or he'll step back. Either way, you win, because your silence sets the standard. It tells him, if you want access to me, you're going to have to show me something. You're going to have to pick up the phone, make the effort, show the consistency, and talk to me like a woman you don't want to lose. Men respect what they work for, not what they're handed on a silver platter. Silence is how you stop handing yourself over. Ladies, here's what most of you don't realize. When you're the prize, silence is not emptiness, it's invitation. It invites him to rise to the level of the woman he desires. It invites him to speak with intention. It invites him to match your energy. It invites him to take the lead and show his seriousness. And if he doesn't, that's your answer without you saying a word. Silence makes a man choose his lane. Words confuse him. Silence exposes him. If he wants you, your quiet will make him uncomfortable enough to act. He'll start asking questions, opening up, showing effort, sending a good morning text, planning dates, checking on you, trying to figure out how to be a part of your world. Silence puts the spotlight on him, not you. It shifts the responsibility onto his shoulders. And that's exactly where it belongs. But let me say this, and I want you to feel it deep. Silence works only when you truly see yourself as a prize. If you're sitting there scared he'll forget you, silence becomes punishment. If you're sitting there hoping he chooses you, silence becomes anxiety. But when you're rooted in your value, silence becomes confidence. It becomes calm. It becomes power. A prize doesn't chase. A prize doesn't panic. A prize doesn't beg. A prize gets pursued. And here's the truth. Men don't fear losing a woman who overexplains, overgives, and overstays. They fear losing the woman who doesn't need to be chosen to feel chosen. They fear losing the woman who doesn't need their reassurance to feel secure. They fear losing the woman who carries herself like she's already enough. Your silence is your velvet rope. Your worth is the very important person section, and he doesn't get in unless he proves he belongs there. Stop rushing to explain. Let him ask. Stop rushing to fix. Let him step up. Stop rushing to reassure him. Let him earn you. When you're the prize, silence becomes the test he doesn't know he's taking, and effort becomes the answer he can't fake. Sit in your throne, queen. Your silence isn't empty. It's an invitation for him to rise. And the right man will always rise to meet a woman who knows she is the prize. Ladies, if you take nothing else from these 6 rules, take this. Your silence is not weakness. It's not attitude. It's not punishment. It's power. The right kind of silence, intentional, confident, self-respecting, pulls a man closer than any words ever could. It makes him think. It makes him feel. It makes him act. Because silence forces him to confront what he really wants and what he's afraid to lose. You don't need to beg for clarity. You don't need to chase for attention. You don't need to prove your worth. A woman who knows her value doesn't compete, doesn't complain, and doesn't explain. She simply shows up in silence and lets the wrong men remove themselves while the right one steps forward with intention. Silence reveals truth. Silence protects your energy. Silence attracts real effort. So walk forward knowing this. You are the prize. You are the softness, the peace, the power, the treasure. And any man who wants a place in your life must earn it with actions, not excuses, consistency, not promises, effort, not potential. Use your silence wisely, queen, because the moment you do, you'll stop chasing and start being chased.